Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, down here in the basement for Ask Dave. The question somebody asked, it's kind of a fascinating one, is why is it that so many people are less interested in my videos about music, like the Haydn Symphony Crusade, and are totally obsessed with the lives of performers? People will tune in by the millions if we talk about Simon Rattle or Roger Norrington or Alfred Brendel or whatever, especially if I say nasty things about them. But they won't bother with things about composers and works and analyses of works. And it drives me crazy too. But there's a reason for it. I'm not sure I know the full reason for it, but I think I have a sense of it. And one way that I can sort of get at the question, my partner's walking around upstairs, and we hear that. One way I think we can get at it is to consider Fred. This is Fred the freezer. Fred is my new freezer. I got Fred last Wednesday. Let me tell you something. This is the most exciting moment of my life, or one of them. I wanted this forever. But, when we moved into this house, it's still, kind of, boxes of things. This is the basement, and there's the boiler and the furnace and whatnot. The truth of the matter is it took us a couple of years to start to unpack and to make the room to install Fred. And I have never been so happy as when Fred finally arrived, because for all of my life, we had freezers. When I was growing up, we had 2 freezers in the garage. My mother still has her wedding cake in the freezer. And, that was a long time ago. But seriously, though, it is a wonderful thing to be able to have extra storage. Fred is the overflow room of food. I can open this up and, oh my goodness, look at this. I've got frozen French fries and onion rings and tofu and pizzas and macaroni and cheese and, oh my goodness, Stouffer's lasagna. I'm just felling thinking about it. All at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. I am ready for the zombie apocalypse. Well, assuming we have power. I love kitchen appliances. I do. And I love some of the benefits of civilized living, amongst which is the freezer. Good old Fred here. And I figured I'm starting with Fred because in addressing this question, you may ask, what does this have to do with, people's preferences in music? Well, it sort of does. It does because everybody has something that they need in their lives, something that makes their life complete. Yes, like having your freezer. I happen to need many things to make my life complete, not just music. I need kitchen appliances desperately. I love kitchen appliances because I love to cook. And I collect rocks, and I collect, I'm a collector generally speaking. But the fact of the matter is, and here's where we need to just be sensible, is that not everybody has time in their lives to obsess about specific things the way we do. Let me get out of here. It's a little bit, sort of strange in terms of lighting. And, so we're talking about obsessing. Yes, we're going to obsess. Here is the other side. Some of you the overflow room is that way through the darkened doorway. Here is the sort of the library that's still in progress. These are all books about music, scores. Just this week, as you can see, I got shelves, lots and lots of shelves that I had brought from the old place. And see, these are all scores. It's all that stuff. Oh, look, there's the complete Richard Strauss edition. And we've got lots of shelves. But in this room, we have, let's see, there we go. In that room, we have boxes and boxes of books, all books about music and history and other things. And I'm starting to get them into shelves. here. And we've got, of course, some CD box sets sitting over there. I mean, that's the way that looks. And eventually, I'm going to get this all put away so that we can sit down in these lovely used chairs and just relax and look at stuff and talk. And so maybe I will put this here on the shelf and we can finish this little chat just sitting here. Oh, my goodness. So here we are. Look, I've organized my life around what I like to collect, all kinds of stuff. Books, music, everything about music, composers. This is what interests me. And the number of people who are going to share that interest is limited. It really is. We like to think that, we have some sort of higher existence because we have this fetish for these things, but we don't. The truth is we don't. The truth is everybody has their own route to enjoyment. And for most people, and classical music is no different from anything else, there are those who are insanely dedicated to it and to its highways and byways and obscurities, and they become hardcore collectors. And then there are normal people who just like it. They're entertained by it. They're interested in a different way. You need to remember that for most of human civilization, when people were interested in music, it was live music made by live musicians. I mean, it wasn't dead things by dead people. I mean, you can actually organize the artist enthusiastic group of classical music people, the classical music food pyramid, if you want to do it that way, by those who are interested in dead artists and those who like living artists. The living artists get attention because people are interested in more than just the sound the music makes. They want to know what is behind the sound that music makes. Now, we are very, who are of the elite say very snottily, well, there is nothing behind it. Music is music, and you should only appreciate higher values of music and not worry about the personalities of these people who are playing it and performing it. And I really get that because I couldn't care less about those people. I really couldn't. But that's the way it is for most people. They enjoy that aspect of it, and they have every right to enjoy that aspect of it. It's fun for them to see what dress, what's her name's going to wear, Yuja Wang, and it's fun to watch the Clyburn competition and ooze all over whoever's winning or whoever didn't win. This all has nothing to do with music. That is true. It's ancillary to the enjoyment of the music. But for a lot of people, it adds to their enjoyment of the music. And it particularly adds to their enjoyment of the music if they don't have time to do what we do, some of us anyway, which is completely, utterly obsess and organize your entire life around it. Not everybody can do that. And not everybody should do that. It's probably not healthy. One of the reasons I believe that people like me, who are totally obsessive about it exist, is to serve as a guide and assist those who don't have the same time that I do or didn't put in the same amount of work that I did in getting to know what I know. And I don't expect anybody to do that. They don't have to. They've got their own lives. I respect that tremendously. So we've got so far, let's summarize. We have two tiers. There are the hardcore collectors, the cultists, the loons, whatever they call us, the crazies. Then there is the much larger group of serious classical music enthusiasts. But part of their enthusiasm is for the artists. It's for their personalities, their lives, their things. With each step on the rung, you're getting further away from the absolute experience of music for its own sake. But you can't be a purist about things like that. I mean, I have Fred the freezer. I mean, I love my freezer. Getting my freezer was just, completed my home. It was like a piece of a jigsaw puzzle finally coming together, and I was so content because I had a freezer. It's whatever works for whatever person, and you can't criticize. One of the things I know in the record business was very interesting was that certain artists always did well, And they did because of the publicity and the work behind them. And I used to hang out at this little record store up on Lexington Avenue called Orpheus Remarkable Recordings. I've talked about it before. It was run by two old record guys, wonderful people. Remy Farkas, who was a Decca person who fired John Colshaw. It was his proudest moment. And Pierre Bourdain, who worked for Sony. And they were lovely, lovely guys. And they had it was a boutique record store. What they did was they had just a very select collection of CDs arranged individually on shelves. It was tiny stock. And they had a guy who would run around, and they sold bookshelf CD systems to incredibly rich people. I remember once I went in there and Lee Radziwill was there, Princess Radziwill, Jackie O's sister, getting her bookshelf system and buying some CDs, things like that. They dealt with a very, very high-end crowd on Lexington Avenue on the Upper East Side. And those people had their taste. It was what it was. They also had gobs of money to have their taste, but they had, their taste. And one of the things they told me when they got new releases was that, for example, Deutsche Grammophon was making tons of Bernstein stuff, and they always said, Bernstein doesn't sell. Karajan sells. And I was horrified. It's not because Bernstein's necessarily better, but because, why don't people want to listen to both? Why can't you? People don't have the time. They just don't. And so there has to be a way to accommodate classical music in people's everyday lives, normal lives, not weird lives like mine and some of yours. And not only does there have to be that aspect of it, it's going to be the majority. It's going to be, it has to be the majority, because most people are not obsessive compulsive wackos. Most people have lives where they may obsess about Fred the Freezer, but they're not obsessing about music. Everyone has their choice, and it's got a slot in there. And the number of people who are going to be somewhere in the middle is the majority. It's why they're somewhere in the middle. Then there are the people who are completely casual consumers of classical music. They sort of know what some of it is. They only want the first movement of Beethoven's Fifth, or they're picking tracks out of things from streaming services, and it's just part of the general blob of sound stuff that they consider musical entertainment. And those people have a place too. It's a big tent. Everybody is welcome. And much as I wish that the universe would sit around watching the Haydn Symphony Crusade, I really do. It's really good music. I know it's not going to happen. And what's more, I shouldn't be hypocritical about it and say, you should only like higher musical values, because I know that people are watching these videos because they like me. I mean, it sounds arrogant, I know, but they do. They think I'm an entertainer. I'm a performance artist, and I'm doing this in a way which I hope is enjoyable and fun and that attracts people, and people watch it because they like what they see. And it has nothing to do with listening to music. Some people just enjoy watching these videos, and I'm thrilled at that. I'm honored by that. I can't say to people, no, don't watch me, go listen to something, and, never mind, it's all about higher cultural. No, that's not what it is. Everybody has to find their own accommodation with music, and most people will accommodate in an average kind of way, not in the whack job kind of way, not in naming your household appliances, not in speaking to your freezer, Fred the Freezer, and giving them a kiss in the morning when you wake up. That is not normal. That is not what most people do. Most people, if they have an extra freezer, don't think too much about it. I mean, I needed Fred desperately, because when we moved here, I had a much bigger kitchen, believe it or not, in Brooklyn, in our apartment in Brooklyn. But when we moved here, it's a small kitchen that was built out in a certain way. And so there was only room for a certain size refrigerator freezer, and it was quite small. It is quite small, and there wasn't enough stuff in the freezer, and it was making me crazy. It really was. And so now I'm feeling like my life has changed immeasurably. So that's just my take on why people tend to prefer like living people. I think that really shouldn't need much of an explanation. We relate more to people who aren't dead. Yeah. Why people's experience of music may be more than just the pure experience of sound entering your auditory canal. Why not everyone has the time to do what we do? Everybody has to accommodate. All we can do, frankly, we whack jobs, I think, if I'm speaking for all of us in this particular video, is to suggest that people that we first of all make everybody as welcome as possible and help them find whatever level of interest and accommodation works for them. That's what I believe. That's what I try to do. And I try to do it by this. So I hope that answers your question. It's a tough question. It's a complicated question. But, that's life. Oh, and meanwhile, I have to tell you, I had a disaster, by the way, in the overflow room. This is just the way to just, I think, drive home the point. For those of you who are more into streaming services, I really understand, because streaming services are really kind of good. Let me get in here. Oh, there we go. Let's put the light on. There's the light. So, I was minding my own business and looking for Finster the cat, and I came down here to the overflow room. Oh, there's Sean, my partner. You can wave. And hang on, you can wave. There we go. There he is. And we came down here, and oh my goodness, we had disaster strike. See this? See the ceiling? Oh, it was horrible. Turns out that we hadn't used our garden hose yet this summer, and when we turned it on, it had burst, and we did not know, and water flooded the ceiling and flooded the floor down here after we just spent a fortune renovating it and making it beautiful and putting LCDs. However, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. He tooketh away our ceiling, but none of the water hit the shelves with the CDs on it. It was a miracle. No, now I'm going to have to get the contractor back here and get the whole thing fixed. So that is, let me put this down here. We're back here in the overflow room. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It's a how much it's going to cost to get it fixed. But I got to get it fixed. I'm going to have to redo the ceiling on that side of the overflow room, and I shall, because we rebuild. I mean, so on the one hand, I got my freezer. I got Fred to join my fabulous, fabulous family of marvelous kitchen appliances. On the other hand, we had this thing happen, all of which, gives an obsessive-compulsive person like me something to be obsessive-compulsive about. And that's my life. I want all of you to be perfectly comfortable with yours, the decisions you make, the amount of music you enjoy, and, find your own way. It's all good. I mean, that's my answer. I may wish, like I said, that it were sometimes a little otherwise, but I appreciate your indulgence. I appreciate your care. I appreciate your watching this stuff as I sit here and just blather, because today I had to deal with this mess last night. I had the plumber here until like midnight, redoing the piping, and I'm totally exhausted. I really am. So, thanks for joining me, friends. Keep on listening, and go give your appliances a little love. They'll appreciate it. Believe me. Take care.